Hello and welcome back to my workshop where I am still building the Kerry Sterner 5th scale vampire. I am not the world's quickest builder. Anyway, this time I have another of Dave McQueenie's gorgeous LUA apps for you, and this one is Instrument Panel. It allows you to build gorgeous custom-made instrument panels for your telemetry, the switch and trim positions, and even use the virtual sensor to create telemetry that doesn't come from your sensors. For example, a Jeti MUI does not give you watts, but we can calculate it from the volts and amps, so you can have a watt meter. To get you started, the app comes with many sample instrument panels that you can use, some backgrounds for you to use, so you don't even need to use the website to create the panels unless you really want to. There are 4 videos planned in this series. This one, which will teach you how to get the app and how to edit it on screen to get values that suit you. For example, you can have an instrument panel for electrics that's generic, but you need to set the dials to the volts and amps suitable for the model you're using it in. Episode 2 will take you through the central box panel, because there are certain features in that you need to see how to set those. Episode 3 will take you through a turbine startup panel, because again there's a couple of features in there you'll need to learn how to use to get it to work properly. And the 4th one will take you through using the website to create or edit the panels all of your own. So, to whet your appetite, let's have a look at the turbine panel during a startup.
I think it's giving the same performance as the
Instrument panels can be as simple or as complex as you wish, and can have any background that you wish. The app comes with, for example, burr walnut backgrounds, plain colours, carbon fibre, and you can add absolutely any background of your choice. I even used a background of a photo of a very simple panel from a full-size vintage plane and superimposed working dials over the ones in the photo. You just need to make your panel 320 pixels wide by 160 pixels tall and put it in the folder in the app. You can have dials with needles, dials with arcs, horizontal bars, vertical tapes, coloured panel lights, artificial horizon, a chart recorder, and text boxes that show items such as capacity consumed, or can interpret things like the turbine status numbers from your ECU into plain text, such as happens during the startup phase of a jet. You can have multiple needles or arcs in one dial. For example, the central box panel I use has one dial for volts, but 2 different coloured needles for the 2 batteries, and the same goes for the amps. The dials can have value boxes within them, so you can read the precise number as well as seeing what the needle or arc is doing. You can colour code the dial if you wish, and can set it to flash blue if the value falls below a minimum limit, and flash red if the value goes above a maximum limit. The app has a superb editor on the transmitter, so that regardless of the minimum and maximum values set in the dials on the website creator, you can modify the panel to suit each model. For example, an electric panel can be edited on the transmitter in each model to suit a model with a 3S battery and 30 amps, and in another model to suit 12S voltage and 200 amps. Now I'd really like to say a huge thank you to Dave's son Russell, who's a professional programmer, because he has given an awful lot of his time for free to create the website that both this app and the Maps app rely on, and without his help these apps simply would not be possible. So thank you very much, Russell, for all your time. And I'd also like to say thank you to the half a dozen people or so who took part in the beta testing and gave us the feedback from their use of the app, because Dave was able to make quite a few improvements and bug fixes based on their feedback. So all in all, between myself and Dave and his son Russell and the beta testers, there's been about 10 people involved in making this app and many hundreds of hours. So although you get it for free, it's actually very costly to make from that point of view. Now, to try and keep my videos short, I don't go into massive depth on all the features in the app and on the website. But Dave has done a series of videos that take a much deeper dive into some of the features and how to operate them. So if you look in the description box down below, I'll put the link there to Dave's videos on YouTube, and there's quite a few of them, so if you really want to get into the app or the website, take a look through those and step through them. Now, Instrument Panel is a visual display of your telemetry, and you'll have noticed that in many of my videos I say that in my feeling you should never take your eyes off the model. A Jeti transmitter can speak to you anything that you need to know. So doesn't Instrument Panel contradict this? Well, no, because the great thing is you can use it on the ground before flying. For example, you can start up in the central box panel, move the sticks, check that the volts and current are not doing anything that they shouldn't do, and then change over to the turbine startup panel and watch all your readings whilst your turbine's getting going, making sure that it's happy. Or, for instance, with an electric model, you can use it to test various different props, as you can see beautifully laid out live readings of the volts, the amps, the watts, revs, whatever. Or, for example, Rick in Texas has created a couple of beautiful instrument panels for use with multi-cylinder engines, one showing RPM and 4-cylinder head temperatures, the other showing RPM and 5-cylinder head temperatures. And these are great for a run-up on the ground, check everything's okay before you go flying. So Instrument Panel doesn't mean you taking your eyes off the model whilst you're flying. So let's go and get the app. Go to your computer, fire up your favorite browser, and go to this address, www.jetiluadfm.app. This is the landing page. It has the links to the Instrument Panel app and to the Google Maps app, which we published a year or two ago. If you haven't got that, do try it. It's fantastic. But anyway, we want to go to the Instrument Panel app. Click on the link. Takes you to this page, Gauges. You might see a different gauge in there depending on what you've got clicked. On the left hand side of this page there's a long list here, which we'll come back to in a minute. It comes down to some of the controls. Up in the top middle is the panel which you've currently clicked on. So for instance, if I go to one of the ones here, it'll change to that. If I go to that one, it will change to that. And if we scroll along to the right, we get the controls for the individual instruments on the panel. We'll be coming back to this. This is how you can create and edit them. So we'll look at that in episode 4. On the left hand side here, it starts with a series of example panels. Next down are My Panels. When you first do this, this block here of My Panels will be blank for you. When you download the app or update the app, it's what's in My Panels that will download to your transmitter. To put something into My Panels, simply click on it and it will appear then in My Panels. So if you just click on the ones from the examples that you're interested in, they will then appear in My Panels, and those are the ones that will download to your transmitter. The bit we want here is Create App Source. Click on that, and up comes a repo. There's a link here with a number in it, and that number is unique to this computer that you are on. So if you've done this before with the Google Maps app, then that unique reference for you should still be the same, unless you've changed computer or reinstalled things or changed something dramatically, perhaps a new network. What you want to do is highlight that if you've not done it already with the Maps app, or if your number's changed. Either Control-C to copy or right-click and copy. Close it. Go to Jeti Studio. We don't need the App Manager yet. And again, if you have not done this before, go to File, Configuration, Apps Sources. Now the route, if you're using an Apple computer, is a little bit different. I'm sorry I can't remember the route to get to this, but I'm sure you can find it. And in here you want to select a new line and then paste in that reference you've just got. It's going to come in there. And you only need to do this the once, unless you change network, change computer, etc. And say it will work for both the Maps app and for the Instrument Panel app. But if you're just doing this for the first time, don't worry, it's not going to give you the Maps app. It would only do that if you went then into the Maps page and got the repo from there. Say OK to that, and then you can get your transmitter wizard going. Go into the LUA App Manager. And you may be like my transmitter here, which is a DS24. The panel here is blank, even though it says Show Only Compatible Apps. Untick that, and it will start to show all the apps. And I think the reason is there's some little catch-up to be done by Jeti, in that Jeti Studio is not recognizing every transmitter, and so it thinks there's nothing compatible. Scroll down until you get to the DFM apps. Here we are, and if you get to the bottom of it and you find there's no instrument panel, you think, where has it gone? Keep going down. For some reason it will sometimes appear at the bottom of the list here rather than with the rest of them. And so click on that and click on the Install button. Mine has Uninstall highlighted because obviously I have it installed already. If you ever need to update it because there's a new version of software, or you have customized or created your own instrument panels, then you would have to get the repo again and then come in here. Jeti does not allow you an update button, so you have to press uninstall. It takes a few seconds to do that, then press the install. When you press install, a little update progress bar comes up, and it will take a few seconds because there's obviously a fair bit of data to come through. Then once it says the install is complete, that's fine. Close it down, and you're ready to go to your transmitter and activate it. So let's look at putting the app onto your model. Usual method, now that we've downloaded it, Applications, User Apps, Plus, and we're looking for DFM Instrument Panel. There we are. Select that. It's quite a big one, so it takes a moment to load. There we go. And you can access menus from here. I prefer not to. I have a preference, just my own, for going in through this menu here. There's probably no good reason for it. I just like it that way. And we're going to select a panel. So what I'm going to use in this demonstration is my electric panel, the Harry Electric. Window 1, choose your panel, and it will list all the ones that you've got here. I'm going to choose Harry Electric, and if you like, select a background for it. I will choose not one of the Burr walnuts. I like them, but they can be a bit fussy if we're trying to just demonstrate stuff here. I'll just choose a plain color background, lavender. Say OK to that, and then very importantly what you have to do is actually display it. So come back to your timer sensors, display telemetry, add, and now you've got LUA, instrument panel 1 or instrument panel 2. This is a limitation imposed by Jeti. They only allow LUA apps to show 2 display windows, not in total but per app. So you can only have 2 panels displayed, except that Dave is jolly clever and has found a way to have as many panels as you like for each display. So you can actually have 2, 3, 4 panels and yet only use instrument panel 1 being displayed and switch between them using the app. So we'll put it on, say OK to that, come out of here, run forward, and there we are. There is our instrument panel. So we need to assign the telemetry to the instrument panel now. So we go back to our apps, instrument panel, into inputs. Right, this is a needle, amps, so it's going to be a sensor. What sensor is it? And it's going to be the MUI 30 current. That's all I need to say about that one. The volts, again, it'll be a sensor. Which sensor? MUI 30 voltage. That's all I need to say about that one. Watts. Now, this is where we cannot use the telemetry from an MUI because it doesn't include it. Let's have a look at it. It's got voltage, current, capacity, runtime, energy, which is watt minutes or something like that, but not watts. So this is where we have to say the input source is not the sensor, it's not a control, i.e. a stick, a switch or something. It's going to be LUA, because we will write a simple volts times amps. There we are. There's no point in editing the LUA yet because we haven't told the LUA calculator that volts and amps exist. So we come out of here, out of there, and down to LUA variables. No variables defined, so we'll add S1, sensor 1, is going to be the voltage. We'll add another one. S2 sensor is going to be a current. Now you can rename them if you want. Obviously, you can see here, you can rename S1 as volts, was it? So we'll do that just to show you what it looks like in the expression builder. So volts. Am I about to find out that this was actually the amps? I can't remember. Sensor 1, voltage. Yeah, that's fine. So you can change the names, and I'll leave S2 just so that you can see what it looks like when we're writing the LUA expression. So now that we've defined that, we can go back to our watts. It's not an extension. We want to edit the LUA. And oh, there we are. Here are our 2 things, volts, called volts now, and S2, which we didn't rename. You can see in the line, one of them is in bold. So if you press the button, that's the one it selects, volts. So that's the start of our arithmetic. And as we scroll along with the wheel, we can get to boldening the multiplication sign. So we'll, oh, I thought it was boldened, but it wasn't. It's that one, multiplication sign. So volts times, and it was S2 we wanted. So now we'll select that one, and that's it. Say OK to that, and the watt meter will now show the watts. The next bit to do is set the panel button if you want to. Let's have a little look. There's a panel light, panel button here, which I've chosen to create a red and a green panel lights there, which I would use with my throttle lock switch. And you could have red means danger, your throttle lock is off, or you could have red means the motor is not going to run. Depends which way around you like things. So if we come back to apps, into our instrument panel, inputs. Right, the throttle lock is going to be the red light. That one's the green light. So the red light is not going to be a sensor, it's going to be a control. And I will use it as danger. So when the throttle lock is off, the control is going to be that one. There we are. Say OK to that. And if we come out, I can show you the effect. There now. With that forward, it shows red. With that back, it'll show clear because we haven't assigned the green one. Okay, back into the menu, apps, instrument panel, inputs. So the green light, I'll put my switch forward, is going to be a control. And the control will be the switch back. Say OK. OK out all of it. And there we are. I don't think it shows up very well on the camera. It's quite a darkish green, like the instant dark green, but it's certainly visible if you're watching it with the naked eye. I wonder if a different angle works. So yeah, you can maybe see it there, it's green. So if I move the switch, you can see it goes red, green. It happens to be the way around that I like it. You don't have to use it at all. You can just leave it completely blank. Because of course I have audio warnings on that switch as well. We turn that up.
Throttle lock is off. Beware of propeller. Throttle lock active.
So it's just a demonstration of what you can do with it. So the next thing we want to do is make this relevant to the aircraft that's in use. I'll be using a 3S battery, which is maximum 12.6 volts. The 30 amps MUI, I think it's a 30 amp controller in it, so there's no point going up to 100 amps. And obviously the wattage, you'd want something relevant. So we need to be able to edit this to make it suitable for the model in use. So how do we do that? Back to our app and into edit the panel. And I will zoom out a little bit here so you can see what's going on better. Just a little bit so we can see the buttons along here. Now, you can see there are crosshairs here. It started on this one because that's probably the first dial I put in when I was building it on the website. And if we press the select button, watch the crosshairs move around the different dials. So I can select that dial to edit. Now I can select that dial to edit. Now it'll move up here and it'll stay there when I press it again, because remember there's actually two different panel lights there. So press it again, it's dealing with the other one. Press it again and we're back to the first one. Right, having got there, there are all sorts of things we can do to edit that. We can edit its position, its numbers, the size of text, etc. So you can just about see it says center, no, the Y position. So we can edit its Y position. The font, decimal points, its X position, back to Y. I want to edit the numbers. So I'll come down value, label, text, labels, tick spacing, and the min max. That's what I'm after. So come along here, edit, and there we are, the min and the max for this. I'll bring it from minimum 0 and I'll give it a maximum of 30 amps. So I can bring that down to 30. Notice there that I can change the units per click of the dial by pressing the menu button as normal. You can also press the menu button here, and Dave has built in all sorts of help screens, which is great stuff, and they're context dependent, so go around the various bits. If you're thinking, what should I do? Press the menu button, and just like in Jeti, up comes the help screen. Say OK to that anyway, and you can see now we've got a 0 to 30 amp meter. So I'll select to come across to the voltmeter. The min-max, it's still on, so I'll edit that. 0 to 100. I will want, for a 3S battery, I could go 0 to 12.6, or I could go 9 to 12.6. 9 seems a bit more relevant. And down here, 10, 12.6. Say OK to that, and there we have a much more relevant voltmeter. Watts, 12 by 3360, so I would need the watt meter to go up to, say, 400. So select to get to my watt meter, edit, 0, max. Only goes by 10, so whiz that up to 400. Say OK, there we are. And that's basic editing of it. And that's how you get the bits to work. So say OK to that. OK. And there we are. You can now plug it in. Once you have plugged in a battery, the needles will appear, and as you move the throttle, all your bits and pieces are going to work.